Daniel Jose Older writes in his book Midnight Horizon, "The Force has chosen you, but you must choose the Force." I've reflected on these words more than once since I read them a couple of years ago. Within Christianity, we often refer to God calling someone either to discipleship or to a specific role. In the Gospels, Jesus calls or invites several people to follow him and be his disciples. Not everyone does. After the Bread of Life Discourse in John 6, many who had followed him left when they didn't understand what he was saying and thought he had lost his mind. Jesus had called each one of them. Jesus had chosen each one of them. But each one of them had to choose him as well. Discipleship is a two-way street. It's an agreement between master and disciple and requires the commitment of time, patience, energy, and the practice of both parties. It isn't enough that the master has chosen you. You must commit yourself to his instruction. The Force has chosen you, but you must choose the Force. Star Wars has always been one of my favorite fandoms. The first Star Wars movie I remember watching in the theater as a kid was The Empire Strikes Back. This was the film in which everyone's favorite 900-year-old little green Jedi Master was introduced, and in which he began to expound more on the Force and the Jedi's interaction with it. One of my favorite sayings from this movie is, "No, try or try not. Do or do not. There is no try." Another one of my favorite scenes is when Luke attempts to pull the X-Wing out of the swamp and fails because he believes it's too big. Then Yoda comes up, shakes his head sadly, and then proceeds to pull the X-Wing out of the swamp and place it gently on more solid ground. Luke exclaims, "I don't believe it." To which Yoda replies, "That is why you fail." It's a great lesson on prayer and faith. At least I think so. One of the things which is most amazing about Jedi Master Yoda is how small, how old, and how unassuming he is. When Luke first meets him, he assumes him to be some small, annoying native of Dagobah, who seemed to only be there to make his life that much harder. You immediately take a liking to him. Yoda himself seems to be very aware of his size and his physical inability due to it, but it's not his size that he relies on most. It's the Force. In the Star Wars universe, the Force is described as an energy field which binds us, penetrates us, and holds the galaxy together. It's described as the source of a Jedi's power and the source of all their unique and superhuman abilities. Without it, they can't do anything that a non-Jedi can't do. In using the Force, they are trained from a very young age to interact with it, to use it, and to be used by it in a cooperation and a type of symbiosis. In a scene at the end of Attack of the Clones, Yoda displays exactly how adept he is when he uses the Force to stop a massive rockfall from landing on him, and he brushes it harmlessly to the side. One thing Yoda never does, however, is take credit for what the Force does. He calls the Force his ally, and it is clear to him that it is the Force which does all these things. Yoda knows very well that if he attempted any of those amazing things on his own, he'd be in deep trouble. For example, imagine if Yoda tried to pull the X-Wing out of the swamp on his own. It's likely Luke would have been rolling on the ground laughing as the little Jedi Master got sucked into the bog with the ship. Imagine if Yoda had tried to stop those rocks in Attack of the Clones from landing on himself just by his own strength. Where he was dueling with Count Dooku. You'd have a little green smudge left on the ground, a Yoda pancake. If he tried to do any of it, he'd be dead, or at least humiliated. The Force has chosen you, but you must choose the Force. Similarly, Christ has chosen you, but you must choose Christ. The normal Christian life, as Watchman Nee called it, is a life lived in cooperation with the Spirit of Christ, and under his power and guidance. All of the charismata, the gifts of the Spirit, and all the fruit of the Spirit are produced by the Spirit, and not through our own natural abilities, no matter how much we try to develop them as qualities within our own lives. There are times God even seems to go out of his way to use people in capacities for which they have no natural ability. Our natural talents and abilities have nothing to do with it. This tends to be one of the flaws in the popular spiritual gift tests which float around Christian circles. A person is likely to answer according to their own natural experience or ability. Jesus said in John 15 that without him we could do nothing. If we attempt to live as disciples under our own abilities, then we run the risk of becoming Yoda pancakes. We become self-righteous at best, and it just goes downhill from there. Things like compassion, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, humility, all of these qualities are not naturally derived for the disciple, but are produced by remaining in Jesus Christ, like the branch remains on the plant, deriving its nourishment from the sap, which flows up through the main stalk or trunk or vine. The charismata, such as prophecy, love, faith, mercy, leadership, teaching, etc., are derived from the Spirit and have nothing to do with a person's training or disciplines. If we attempt them thinking that we're the ones from whom they flow and derive, then we run the risk of becoming little green smudges on the ground. Christ has called you, but you must choose to submit to the guidance, direction, and control of the Spirit of Christ instead of your own malfunctioning flesh. Every charism, every spiritual gift is dependent on you ceding control to the Spirit of Christ and choosing not to act on your fear, anger, or bodily cravings. Every fruit of the Spirit is absolutely dependent on you choosing the Spirit of Christ and not your own flesh's ravings. You cannot be a disciple of Jesus Christ without committing to being a disciple of Jesus Christ. You cannot be a disciple without choosing to live as he taught and walk as he walked. You cannot display the fruit of the Spirit of Christ or use its gifts without choosing to submit to and cooperate with the Spirit of Christ, because they are born from the Spirit and not your own devices, your own flesh, or your own emotions or passions. Christ has chosen you, but you must choose Christ.